Hi, you guys. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Donna DeCosta, and I just realized that many of you may not know why I'm so passionate about food allergies and who I am and what I've been doing. So I just wanted to take this year. I figured it's the start of the year 2020, and I take this time to tell you about that. So my story actually began, my food allergy story, about 2000 when I was sitting in the kitchen one day with my son. And for whatever reason, I decided to give him some peanut butter. And I was talking to my mother on the phone, and we were chit-chatting, and I gave him a peanut butter sandwich. And all of a sudden, he said, I looked at him, and he started itching and scratching, and his hives started popping up. And I said, oh my goodness, I've got to go. He's having an allergic reaction. So I called the doctor's office, and they said to bring him in, give him some Benadryl. We had Benadryl in the house because he had eczema as a baby. So I gave him Benadryl, and he threw up everywhere. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I gave more Benadryl, I got his diaper bag together, and we took off out the door. And I was driving, and he was very quiet, and I was really worried. I said, wonder if he can't breathe, and I'm driving, what am I gonna do? So I called 911, and they said, come into a fire station, we'll let them know that you're there, or that you're coming rather. So, I flew into the fire station, probably on two wheels, my minivan. And by that time, the Benadryl had kicked in, and he says, oh, Mommy, look at the fire engines. Mommy could breathe again. So they said, we think it's okay to go into the doctor's office. So I went to the doctor's office. He threw up again on the car, and we got there kind of like soaking wet, like, here we are. And she said, you need to see an allergist ASAP. So that really began our food allergy journey. So we saw an allergist, and my beautiful little baby with these bright eyes and brown curly hair was diagnosed with life-threatening food allergies, with multiple, as a matter of fact. And we were told to stay away from the allergens, to give epinephrine if he had a reaction, to call 911, and they were given a couple resources, and basically kind of told, see you later, bye-bye, we'll see you in 6 months. So it was just really, I was like, what does the doctor mean? My child can actually die because of accidentally eating peanuts or tree nuts. And so it was really very hard. Externally, I kind of said, oh, on the outside, I got this is okay, I can do this. I'm a physician. I've dealt with serious conditions before. It's not really the end of the world. But on the inside, while it wasn't the end of the world, it just turned my world upside down. I was frightened. I was, honestly, really terrified and overwhelmed and stressed at what I was going to do and how I was going to help to keep my child safe. He was at daycare at the time, so I was like, how am I going to keep him safe at daycare? Will he ever be able to go to school? Can he go to a grandparent's house? Can he go to a friend's house? Can he have sleepovers and play dates and birthday parties? Could we go on vacation? Are we going to be able to eat out? I was wondering, could I ever relax when he was away from me? And I don't know, have you guys ever felt that way? But that's just how I felt. I was really very, very frightened. And deep down, I felt that somehow I had done this to him. That I had given him this allergy. There was something that I ate during my pregnancy, or maybe something I did, or something that I didn't do, or something that I did to bring this on, like I took vitamins and I try to do the right thing and eat the right thing and drink the right thing, and my child has these severe allergies. And I was thinking, why did I give him that sandwich? And I really kind of felt like I failed to protect my child, my baby, who meant more to me than the world, than anything in the world. And life itself, I failed to protect him somehow. And I just wanted him to be safe, So I kind of put on my doctor hat, and I said, I got to figure this out. So I went, and right at that time, we're talking about 19 years ago, there weren't as many resources as there are today. So I went online, and I looked at books, and I read everything I could. But everything was kind of fragmented, and my head was spinning. I didn't really have somebody to sort of help me or guide me through this process. None of my friends had kids with food allergies. Nobody in our family had allergies. I don't know about you guys, but nobody. Everybody's like, food allergies? He's allergic to what? You're like, how does that happen? And I really needed somebody to help me to go through this. But I basically read everything I could, and I taught things to my parents, who were very involved in his care. I taught things to my husband, of course, and I read children's books to my son, and we watched DVDs and that kind of thing. And I mentioned his new diagnosis to his daycare director. So, and I even went to a conference. It was called FAN at the time, now currently FAIR. And I really wanted to soak up all the food allergy information I could possibly find. And I met a lot of great people. And at the end, one of the ladies, I asked her, I said, are there any support groups in the area? Can you tell me the names? And she says, well, actually, there are none. She's like, so if you want to start one, that'd be great. I'm like, me? I was like, I need support. So anyways, I actually did start one, which is actually still in existence today. But I tried to really get all the information I possibly could to help my child. And we were doing pretty well. Things were going well. He was in daycare, and I went in one day, and he was eating a cookie. And I said, where did you get that cookie? And he pointed to his teacher. And I said, where did you get that cookie? I asked her. And she pointed to this plastic bag, which was like not labeled, nothing. And I said, well, what is that cookie? Why are you giving that cookie to my child? What is it? She said, oh, well, I'm not sure what kind of cookie, but I know it's not a peanut butter cookie. Don't worry. I was like, and I was worried because she obviously didn't understand how severe his allergies are. So I knew I had not done enough and that I really needed to do something to figure this part out too. So I realized that I really needed to help the people who were interacting with my child. I needed to make sure that those people were educated and knew how to take care of my child. And so that's something I call the food allergy circle. So I call the child's food allergy circle the child as well as the people who are involved in that child's life. Such at that time, it was basically family and friends and the daycare directors. But it may be, teachers and that kind of thing, other family members. So what I decided to do, I really taught my kids that I wanted to teach my son more about food allergies. So we got extra books, and we read about all kinds of elephants and animals having food allergies, all kinds of different allergies. And I really wanted to involve him more in the process, even though he was only a small child. He was only 2 years old. But I thought to even involve him a little bit in that process. So as I said, I spoke with the daycare director, and I said, we really need to get training into the daycare. So I organized someone to come in from the outside to train the entire daycare staff, so all the kids would be safe. I also put up food allergy bulletin boards. Help her to implement protocols to protect all the children. And then, even though he was very young, I made sure that I told him that you need to eat whatever I bring you. You don't eat everybody else's snacks. And if somebody asks you, would you like to have the snack? You just say, no, thank you. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say anything else. Just say, no, thank you. But make sure you eat only what mommy packs for you to eat. And again, we watched videos and saw a couple things online, some more books and that kind of thing. I modeled label reading. So I would show him how to read the label. And I'd say, okay, this is what we're going to look at. And so we read, quote unquote, read. He couldn't read at that time, but I'd show him the words. And I'd say, if you see this word peanut, means you cannot have that. I think peanut was probably his first sight word. But I basically did those things to help him and even to empower him and his little person, just to help him along the way, in addition to the people around him. And I was educating people around him. So that worked for several years. He was in daycare, and we had the same daycare teachers and the same kids and parents, and things went well until we got to preschool. So that was the next challenge. It was a new school, and they had a very limited food allergy policy. So right after we started, I got CC'd on an email. And the email, evidently there was a child who had a pretty severe allergic reaction in the evening during one of the activities at school. And they had to have epinephrine and 911, the whole 9 yards. So I was CC'd on this email. So 2 other parents and I, we got together and we formed a committee to actually present some protocols to the preschool director. So we kind of looked at things that happened all around the country. At that time, we didn't have the national guidelines like we have today. So we took different policies from different states, and we compiled them, and we gave them, and we presented this information to the preschool director. She and then in turn presented it to the president, and they made some school-wide policies at that time. Unfortunately, that didn't solve all the problems, though. So it solved a lot of problems, but certain situations like birthdays and social situations were kind of difficult. I remember many birthdays when it was time for the cake and the ice cream, my son would kind of walk away and move over here and kind of go away from the rest of the kids. And I knew it was because he was upset because he couldn't have the particular cake and the ice cream, that kind of thing. So number one, I started to do, I began to involve him more in the decision. So I would ask him, number one, do you want to go to the birthday party? If you want to, how do you want to handle this? What would you like to do? Do you want to bring something there that you can eat? Do you want to bring something that everybody can eat? Do you want to eat something, before or after, whatever? So I kind of gave him some options and took cues from him to see how he wanted to handle things. And by asking him how he wanted to handle things, he felt a little more in control and less like a victim. And I was happy to see that he would retreat less and he was enjoying parties even more. So when my oldest was in kindergarten, I had a second son, and he actually happens to have food allergies as well. Some same, some different. And so we had several years under our belt with, dealing with food allergies. But this is a new daycare facility. We have some different allergies, some of them the same, some different. And then you're dealing with siblings and that kind of thing. So it was kind of a little bit different. But as my sons progressed through elementary school to middle school to high school, and now I have one in college about to graduate, we've experienced new challenges along the way. But I've always stressed the importance of educating my children as well as all the people around them, and also involving my kids in the process. I think that's really, really important. And as they've gotten older, they've taken on more and more responsibility. So while they're taking on more responsibility, while the people around them are taking on less responsibility. And my youngest now, he actually researches restaurants, and he, questions managers and hangs out with his friends. He goes on trips in the school, and he speaks with the staff there, restaurant staff there. He lets his coaches know things. So he's really taking on that responsibility. He's actually self-administered epinephrine, and he carries his epinephrine as well. But he is in high school. And my oldest is in college. He buys his own groceries, cooks his own meals, and deals with food allergies in his house with five other students. So, and both my kids have traveled internationally, both with me and without me, which wasn't so easy, truthfully, but they've both done that as well. So for the past 2 decades, I know now that it's not my fault that my kids have food allergies, as much as I blame myself, and that everybody's dealing with something, and these are some of the things that we're dealing with. And while I didn't give my kids the food allergies, I always want to protect them. But I do realize the importance of not only having taught my kids about the food allergies as well as other people around them, but really involving them in the daily decisions. It's important to get their input, even at a young age, just to increase that involvement and get their input in what's going on in age-appropriate ways to help to empower our kids. And I feel really important about that. So sometimes, I want to have my protective wings around my kids and keep them there, and have harm at arm's length, and everybody stay away. But I realize, while I do want to protect them, I also have to prepare them to enjoy life with their food allergies. And I learned that I really needed to be able to, slowly pass that food allergy responsibility to them. It's not something that happens quickly and automatically. It's something that slowly you need to pass that along to your kids, and like I said, in an age-appropriate fashion. And that can be really difficult. And I love this quote by Linda Wooten, which says that being a mother is learning about strengths you didn't know you had and dealing with fears you didn't know existed. And I know food allergies have definitely made me aware of fears that I didn't know existed. But I've also realized strengths that I didn't know that I possessed, and I've seen strengths and qualities in my sons that I didn't know existed. So it's a work in progress. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect situation. We're constantly working on things and working on challenges that arise. But one thing I know is that I do not want food allergies to prevent my sons or anyone's children from living the life which they desire. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping parents of kids with food allergies. While I hope and pray for a cure, I don't know when that day is going to come. But in the meantime, I want our kids to be able to live life to the fullest right now. Thank you very much. Bye.